Awesome. Thanks, Hunter. Chantel, it is awesome to get the chance to meet you. And very excited to kick off this conversation with you. Before we even dive in, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your journey within Sisters and Cells, kind of what got you to where you are today? I mean, you've done so much, so we'd love to hear that.
Such a big question, but first, thank you so much for having me here. And I'm thrilled to tell my story, but also to evangelize for our members. Um, and so, with that said, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. I went to school with that in mind. Um, I sat down in law classes with full expectation that I was going to take the LSAT. And I remember taking a sales job at Yelp specifically, and they hired me right off the gate from college, and I said to myself, this is going to be one of those jobs where I just put my head down and I'll make the dials and hit quota, and I'll go back to that law school idea. Well, I stayed there for 4 years and I ended up managing a team, and I ended up going into an enterprise sales capacity. And I just kept pushing for sales greatness. And I realized actually that my dream was to continue to actualize and build on my sales acumen. I didn't know it then, but coming from where I come from, I'm first generation American. I come from a Caribbean family. I come from a community oriented family. And I come from a world of straight just hustling and getting things done. Um, and the idea of taking a step back and perhaps going that law school route became less and less attractive. And furthermore, I realized I was competitive, not necessarily with people around me, but with myself. And I loved the goals that sales bring to you. That created a lot of structure. For some people, it can be very daunting. For me, it was actually energizing. So now the only other thing, which is what we're going to talk about, is now that I've discovered that I love sales, I love growing business, I love finding revenue, I love all of that, I love the chase. The issue that I started to find was I wasn't in a space that was inclusive. So, what happens when you know you want to work in sales, but your environments prevent you from succeeding? And that was why this came about, which we can talk more about.
Absolutely, no, that's amazing. I think your story resonates with a lot of us here in sales. Me myself, I can speak to definitely an experience I can relate to with my passion in trying to go into physical therapy and taking that route and switching into sales. So it resonates a lot, and it's a story I hear almost a little too often in sales. It seems like that we all kind of take a route of surprise, and just incredible to see where you've come from that, and just very impressive with how you were able to make that transition and continue to make it grow and the changes that you created. But obviously, with that being said, to kind of change the conversation to pivot, according to research from Zippia, almost 76% of sales reps are white, and only 3.8% are of Black descent. How do you think that we can change that, and why do you
Well,
think that is?
there are systemic reasons why people of color are not in the workforce just in general, right?
Mhm.
History tells us that. But more importantly, I think the statistic that, or rather the data point that always sticks out to me are, and why I'm so bullish on CIS, is because the group of entrepreneurs are Black women. Yet, to your point, if if we are the fastest group of entrepreneurs, that means we have that sales acumen, we have that hunger, we have that business sense. Yet we occupy the least amount of space in a corporate sales setting. We're doing sales regardless, but somehow there are politics and there are hurdles that we have to overcome to have a seat on a sales team at an enterprise. And so I think that like there were excuses that corporate America used to make about not being able to find diverse sales talent. In 2023 going to 2024, that's no longer the case. We have to make intentional effort to bring these incredible business leaders who are smashing barriers. And for example, I was just at a Black ambition pitch competition, and the winner of the entire $1 million prize was a Black woman and her ideas. So it at this point, it really does take corporate America and the world of tech to go in and to create foster the right environments for these women to come in and thrive because they can do the job, but they do need that bridge, and we have to do this for them. And also even outside of doing good, because also we could talk about why it makes sense to do good. The data shows that a diverse workforce, especially a diverse sales force, leads to better revenue. So it's just a business reason ultimately.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that statement. It definitely is. Um, thank you for that, the insight there. Kind of pivoting even deeper into that. I know it's the background and obviously the lack of what you saw in representation, but what really was it that was like the breaking moment where you're like, okay, I've got to found Sisters in Sales? What was it that inspired you to take that step and say, I want to be that person that makes the change?
You ever been good at something and unsure how to navigate like the industry? That was really what I knew, that I was good at this.
Mhm.
But I know it's more, it's not just about talent, it's connections, it's mentorship, it's sponsorship, it's knowledge that you may not just have at your fingertips. And I needed to find trusted advisors who could help me navigate this industry. And when I did find them, and because I was pretty scrappy about it, I would ping people on LinkedIn who looked like me that were in sales roles, and I would say, hey, can you meet with me for coffee? Because I just want to understand, how did you become a VP? How did you become a CRO? Can you tell me what you did? Can you share with me your salary? Can you share with me your lifestyle? How did this change your family? How did this change your world? How did this change your opportunities? They would share this with me over coffee, over a glass of wine. And I wanted to scale this education because I knew that we didn't know enough about this for us to thrive. And so that's really why I created SIS. It's truly because I had a curiosity, I had a need, I wanted to be great in sales. And I became great in sales, right? I'm also my own experiment. I became great. I worked in big tech. I was a senior seller at LinkedIn, at Twitter, at JustWorks, at all of these different kinds of companies. And I wanted our community to experience the knowledge I experienced, which allowed me to be great. And I don't want that to be gate kept anymore. So if I can go out and I can socialize and I can scale this education out, then that's what I want to do. And that's the kind of impact I want to have in the world.
Absolutely. No, it definitely is it's something that's definitely drastically lacking in the industry. I'll even say it from my own experiences that finding that information, those people you can relate to, that are willing to share, and not like you said, the gatekeeping, the whole aspect of it being held a secret to the success or the keys to success or what the recipe of success looks like. It shouldn't be something that's held. It should be something that's shared. And I think that is one of the huge differentiators and blockades and what creates equity and what we're seeing in society today. So that lack of that information being shared to communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving forward, what are some of the challenges and roadblocks that Black women in sales continue to face? Now, I can only speak obviously from like a male's perspective, so I would love to hear this from you. This is one I'm very interested in hearing. I think everybody needs to be hearing.
Okay, so we talked about the lack of education for how to navigate certain corporate spaces that is really only passed on through unspoken, like sharing unspoken rules and just like dialogue, right? There's you know, that is really important. The other thing is we have, as women, we have a different career life cycle, especially if we want to start having children and if we want to maybe give back to our local communities, some of the things that could be on our own personal roadmap for life. And I think that when you're working a sales job, there is a misconception that if you're a woman, you will not be able to produce as much as a man, or you will have to you'll have to bow out of the industry or bow out of the career if you decide you want to have kids. But actually, I think sales is a perfect job for women and for women of color because there's flexibility in the industry. You can change the different kinds of things you do in sales, whether you are hunting new logos or growing existing business. Your skills can also lead you to joining corporate boards or to writing books or to being a consultant or what have you. There's so much flexibility in working in sales and having a really good sales education that I really want our community to benefit from this, because that's truly how you create that generational wealth. I am the daughter of a father who had a sales background, who taught me so much information, which allowed me to start multiple businesses in my lifetime. And so, if you are able to have a thriving career in sales and pass down that information to your kids, they probably will be able to start their own businesses faster and more efficiently than other people who don't have a mother or a father who worked in sales. So it's an amazing career for women, and I really want to demystify it, that it is constraining. And I also want companies to understand, and this is something I was speaking about recently with a mother of three. Women in sales are some of the best multitaskers you will ever have. They are very efficient. They get to the bottom line. They understand how to cut all the additional extra steps. They will be really great sellers for you. So I want to advocate for us to be in those spaces. I want to advocate for our members and people who are potential members listening, that this is a good career for you if you are interested in it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree any further to that point. And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, definitely when it comes to the multitasking and the checks and balances of life, rather than being looked at as, oh, this is a hindrance, that's a skill set. Those are tools. Those are additional skills that people like myself aren't even picking up in my day-to-day life currently, that somebody who is a mother, who has dealing with those outside exterior forces is experiencing, and then also balancing that makes them a stronger, better suited candidate.
Yes.
Awesome. And then what advice would you give to a sales professional, especially one from an underrepresented community that is looking to take their career to the next level?
Well, the devil is in the details, so I'd have to know what exactly is the next level for you. Is it being a people manager? Is it being a second line manager, a manager of managers? Is it being a CRO where you're setting like the strategy? The only way to really get clarity is to have as many conversations with different people across the organization as you can, whether it's your organization or, become a member of CIS and have access to thousands of other women who are in different levels within the organization. But I think the best piece of advice I can give someone is you need to create your own roadmap for success, but you can only build that once you understand what all the different variables are. And your company is not going to create that roadmap for you. They're going to optimize a roadmap that's in their best interest. They're not going to optimize a roadmap for your full individual self. All the things you want to accomplish in life, work is one part of it. What about lifestyle? What about your personal dreams, your personal goals? You have to assess that. But the only way to do that is to collect all the information as possible. Literally draw out what you want your life to look like and figure out what does it take for you to hit those milestones. So step one is having a clear plan for how you want your life to look and how your work fits in that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, thank you very much. I appreciate the guidance there, and I'm sure everybody else here on the call as well. And I know one of the things too is just kind of piggybacking off of that. We'll transition to this next question. I know mentorship is very important to Sistas in Sales. What are the benefits of mentorship for both of the mentee and the mentor?
Okay, I get reverse mentored all the time. So shout out to my EA, who's our incoming chief of staff for 24, Elisandra, who I will maybe share with her kind of what I want her to think about or work on, and she'll share with me what she's seeing in the market from her perspective, and some of the things that make it across her desk that maybe don't make it across my desk, that allows me to continue to future proof the business. We, as individuals, we can't be everywhere and do everything at once. We need people to tell us what they're seeing, especially if they're from a different quote unquote generation or have a different lens on looking at the world. Like I thrive on that. We need that, especially when we're building for the future. So reverse mentorship, which is where the mentee mentors the mentor, is extremely important. as a mentor is for us to know and be prepared for the future of the world and future of work. And we have to be willing to receive that feedback as well. We don't know it all. And of course, like the value for us as mentors is really it actually improves my communication skills, because when I'm meeting with someone in a mentorship capacity, I have to be really clear about where they are and where I would like them to go and give them action steps so they can actually receive the benefit of a mentorship, not just like catching up loosely, but making sure I'm providing real value that'll help them move the needle.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. What advice would you have for someone who's looking for a mentor? I know you kind of like spoke a little bit to that just now in answering that question with finding somebody with like different mindset, different experiences, different generations, or has a different perspective on life or outlook on what you're looking to get advised on. But what are some of the other advices you could give to somebody looking for a good mentor?
Well, you have different mentors for different things. I think sometimes people want one mentor to be a catch-all for all of their business, career, or life problems, but that's really not the best way to leverage a mentor. If you take a look and take stock of your current situation, I'm pretty sure we all have different things that we're juggling. You may have like 5 to 6 different buckets that you're juggling all at once. Find specialized mentors for those buckets. I probably am not going to be the best mentor for something, but I could be a good mentor for sales and career advice. And you need another mentor for something else going on in your life. Don't bring all of your issues and challenges and obstacles to one mentor. It actually makes us less effective, and it's not great for organizing yourself. So have a specific need for a specific person, then you can track how efficient or how successful that particular relationship is, because it's an investment on both ways. You may think that this person is going to be a good mentor for you. You give them an isolated problem for them to work through with you, and maybe they're not actually the best mentor for you, but you won't be able to know that unless you like isolate one problem, one obstacle. Versus sometimes I'll get on the phone with someone who I'm mentoring and I have 30 problems that they want me to figure out. I can't figure out 30 problems at once, but I can figure out one, and you can let me know if it worked out. And then if it did, we should continue our relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I know we're sitting right now at about 12 minutes till time on this. So I wanted to also open this up, see if we had any questions that are coming in from the group. Would love to open up the table for I continue with any more on my end. Feel free to throw them all in the chat if anybody does have any. All right, it looks like I can continue going. So I guess kind of even piggybacking a little further off on that, and kind of just asking some more questions to learn a little bit about you. You answered a lot about kind of your background, where you've come, where you've gone, what you think could be changed. I'd love to just kind of pick your brain around just being from sales professional to another professional. What are some of the ways that you've been able to like navigate your focus and your mind around like what's going on in the external forces of the world, like what you're seeing in the news, some of those things? What are some of the ways that you stay positive and focused? Because we know that this job and this career is like a roller coaster unmatched to any other. What are some of the ways that you stay level-headed, so to speak?
Oh, that's a good question. I try not to boil the ocean. There is a lot going on. And if I think about all the things that are on my plate, all the different like projects that I'm working on and all the different places that I have to be and do, I will easily just get stuck. But every day I can move the needle a little bit with something on my plate. And I really just operate in those micro tasks. I break things down into the smallest step I can take it. And then that's how I take action. And that allows me not to worry about all that's going on right now. There's a time and place for me to worry about the economy, what's happening in the world. There's overall world issues. genocide and what have you. There's so much happening, and I simply cannot operate in that state of wonder and fear every day. But I can isolate time for that, like on Saturdays or on Sunday morning. But when I wake up and I get on this computer, I am focusing on one micro step at a time. And that is the only way that I am able to be efficient and get things done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I think we did just receive an audience question. I think I lost it somewhere.
I see a question. It says, in sales, unconscious bias can be a significant barrier. Can you share insights or advice on how to recognize and overcome these biases? I'm wondering if this is in respect to your customer or future customer, or being on a sales team, because you can have unconscious bias between a sales manager and a rep, but you can also have that with a customer. And I can share both stories. I mean, I've definitely felt that before getting on a sales team where I'm the only one who is a Black woman on that sales team, and knowing that I have to work much harder to show that sales manager that I have the capacity to be great. And I know your question is like how to overcome that. Truthfully, I don't look for, and this may be a little bit too candid, but I really am not looking for the success of that in that relationship. That's why I created SIS. That's why communities exist. I am not going to be able to change the mind of a sales manager. I'm not going to be able to unwire what they have learned over however long they've been on this planet, whatever they have decided to be their identity. I can't do that. That's only going to weigh me down and hold me back. All I can do is ensure that I have a support system when I leave that office. I have good friends in my life, and I have what I need to be emotionally well. I like sales because, to me, I can gamify it. And when I was cold calling and I had my headset on, or when I was running around and meeting with different customers from, New York to California, I was able to focus on the task at hand, which is closing the deal and getting it done, and not getting caught up in that interpersonal relationship between a sales manager and a rep, or even the customer and myself. Because to me, like I said, I gamified it. I made it about the dollars and cents. And that's how I was able to survive. And I know that may not be like, a lot of us want to change people, but we can't change them. We can't be held to that. We can't have that burden on us to change people. So I hope that answers your question. And I also see another question. I don't know if you see that, Brandon.
For some reason, I'm having issues pulling them up on my end. So if you've got them coming in on yours, that'd be extremely helpful if you could read that.
How can organizations measure the success and impact of their DEIB initiatives in their sales departments? What are some KPIs that you suggest leaders to track regarding this? Well, I mean, the most obvious one are diverse sales hires, right? I mean, ultimately, the more diverse sales hires in your sales organization, the more equitable and the more equality exists in your sales organization. So that's like the most clear KPI. I think underneath that, ensuring that the organizations are funding ERGs. I've seen ERGs have sub branches within their ERG for salespeople, and that is wonderful because clearly there needs to be space for salespeople who are diverse to congregate internally. So that would be another thing. Is there budget allocated towards these ERGs for a subset of that ERG, which is a sales community? And then there are some other non-obvious KPIs, and that is how many of your leaders have relationships with underrepresented salespeople? Often, due to cultural backgrounds, we may not approach you for mentorship, and we may need you to approach us to mentor us. And if these sales leaders are being measured outside of sales hires, outside of ERGs, on how many times they approach underrepresented sales talent to offer mentorship, that would be a very big needle mover. Hi, Chantel. I have a deep background in sales and I'm struggling to get to the interview stage. I've revamped my LinkedIn and resume and leverage open AI as much as possible. What advice would you help the assistant sales stand out? Thanks in advance. Big question. Probably should offline it. Find me on LinkedIn, and then I would have to see the full picture for me to answer that question. So, and that my LinkedIn is open to you and whoever is listening to add me, and we can talk more about a specific question like that. But I don't want to give broad responses for something that is a case by case.
Any other questions? Anybody? I finally got it figured out where I'm able to see them now, so
Nice.
got them coming through. But anybody else with any other questions? If not, I've actually got one that I'll mix in as well. Chantel, in your opinion, what do you think that workplaces that incentivize the recruitment or the referral based programming or like referral bonuses based off of like gender, race, or ethnicity, in your opinion, do you think that creates any additional biases for those individuals that are coming into those organizations? Like, for instance, if like there's a referral bonus differentiator based off of somebody's ethnicity or gender, and what's your opinion on that?
Interesting question. Can you explain more? Are you saying that you're
Like,
isolating? You want to understand if programs should incentivize people to refer women over men or diversity over non-diverse?
diversity over non-diverse. So, for instance, I've worked in organizations in the past where me myself being recruited into the organization, the bonus was like at a for say $2,000, for example, mark, or for somebody to refer somebody of my background into the organization, me being a Black male. For somebody who's, let's say, non-Black or non-Hispanic or Asian to be referred to the organization would have been a $1,000 bonus. And I was just curious on your opinion on how you think that can create any type of biases in the workplace.
That's an interesting. I'm. This is the first time I've ever heard of incentivized referrals based upon background. I mean, I suspect that it may continue to tokenize people and create inauthentic relationships just for the sake of money. I don't know if that's creating the environment that would actually be supportive for a diverse candidate once they get through the door, versus holding leaders accountable to having a diverse network in the first place, and recruiters accountable to push back on hiring managers who don't who come to recruiters with a list already in hand of people that they really want, and removing some of those unfair practices in the hiring in the hiring industry or the hiring department. We need to be promoting leaders that have diverse, like they have their own diversity mantra, not just how good they are in sales, but are they actually good, inclusive leaders? Once we start making sure that that is a part of the hiring strategy for a hiring manager, then you don't need to create all of these different tactics for referrals. Why not just say, hey, you're great at hitting your number. You would be a great sales manager. Also, it seems like you're involved in the community and you care about these causes. Let's promote you. Then they're checking both boxes. I feel like that would make a better culture than, using money to find diverse people and hurting them, kind of like cats. Don't really like that. Sorry.
I agree. I agree 100% wholeheartedly, and I appreciate your opinion there. And it looks like we are at time now. Chantal, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I appreciate everybody else for coming in. It's a pleasure. If anybody's interested in learning more, I'm sure you could reach out to Chantel. But I'll let Hunter take over here back again and close this all out.
Thank you for this interview, Brandon.
No problem.
Yes, thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Chantel. Is LinkedIn the best way to reach out to you if people want to keep the conversation going?
Absolutely. Please. And also visit our website and become a member. We'd love to continue to support you.
Awesome. Awesome. How about you, Brandon? Anything keep the conversation going with you, sir?
I mean, if anybody would love to reach out to me, LinkedIn's the best way to get in touch. I'm very active there. If you have any questions about how we as an organization at Power to Fly can help you or support diversity or equity inclusion within your own organization, feel free to reach out to me. I work on our new business side of things, so I'm a sales rep over there. I'm happy to have a conversation around how we could potentially support your goals for 2024 and moving forward.
Awesome. Chantel, Brandon, thank you both so much for that conversation and for making the time today. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
All right. Take care now.